Okay, go ahead. Questions, and we'll roll.
Well, Mike, you got a lot of four-star guys in this group. Your thoughts on the overall class.
I should know that. Give me a number. I'm not even sure how many 4 stars. 6. That's good. Quite honestly, I don't even pay attention to 4 stars. That's why I didn't know, and I'm not good, leading you in the wrong direction. I don't have a clue how many 4 stars we had. What we're looking for is young men that fit our culture, and ones that we know that will come in here, work hard, do all the things that I talk about. I don't need to repeat all that, and stay here, unless they have a good reason to jump in the portal and go somewhere else. Okay, we think that's very important with the trend and the way things are moving. Geographically, we want to stay as local as possible because we think that helps us keep young men that are here to push through times when maybe it's not as fun to stay here, and then it pays off in the end, like Devin Harper.
Mike, you may not want to comment on this, but another way of putting it, besides 4 stars, is some of the schools you beat. You beat on some of these kids, some schools that normally win a lot of recruiting battles. And maybe the best example in past years, a guy like Deshaun Brown got hammered by OU late.
Right.
He signs with Oklahoma State. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so we had, as I scan here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a half. I don't know, a couple, could be 5 that were offered at some point, pursued heavily, or even late. It kind of comes back to what I said 2 weeks ago. We have a chance right now at Oklahoma State, if it's handled correctly, to move to the top, if we do it right. Now, I can't control that. I'm not in charge of the overall concept of what we're doing here, but we have a real chance if we're willing to move forward and take that step right now. And this is a good example that you brought up. I don't know that we've ever signed, you know better than me, you study it, 4 or 5 players that had traditional offers from schools that we don't beat.
Well, I mean, I kind of spotlighted Deshaun Brown. I've seen him a lot. He was under-recruited for a long time. I think he may be the best defensive player in the state. And I just can remember a lot of times in the past when OU came in and shook the tree real late, you know, that they would end up getting it. And Deshaun Brown signed early this morning with you guys. So that's a different scenario.
Yeah, so we have we took 3 defensive line ends, D linemen that it's going to be interesting to see how they develop. They're Colin Oliver, Trace Fordish, a little bigger, so they might push to 280. We don't know, but the ones we got, we really like, and I think it's pretty evident that our evaluation of that particular position over the last few years has been as good as anybody in the country.
You talk about culture, kids doing the right thing. I didn't know about this until I started putting profiles together. Landon Dean is one of those defensive end kids and was the 3A defensive player in Kansas. Switched offensive line for his team this year. Switched his number, switched to O-line from tight end because his team needed him there. That's typically, a lot of kids don't want to switch from tight end to O-line.
Yeah, they have not as big a school, so I had a nice visit with him and his family and his coach a week ago up there in Frontenac, Kansas. Had a little trouble getting downtown through Main Street because everybody was getting off work and going to, I think it was the Bootlegger Club is what they were going to, so I had to go around a couple of cars. But anyway, he's one of those players, 6'4"-ish. I think he was 248 the other day. Might be 280 in a year, I don't know. Athletic, used to be a basketball player. Can play both sides of the ball. Really good family, good, he's a good culture for us, let's put it that way.
When you're out talking to these recruits and stuff, how much do you bring up just the stability of the program? Obviously, you see schools right now with coaching changes and these kids are committed to a coach that's now somewhere else. How much do you guys stress the stability that you guys having?
Yeah, this is the the most movement and fly-by-night operation there's ever been in college football, in my opinion. I've been in it for 35 years. So before then, I don't know. But with the availability of the portal, which I've said before, there's good reasons for the portal. Like we'll have, we could have 2 or 3 or 4 players even here that are very happy, but they still they might get in the portal because they want to go somewhere and start, which we don't want to lose them, but we also understand. But the way the portal's operating right now, you're seeing starters, like they bring it into me and I scan it, young men that are starters places that are still leaving. So because of that, the instability in this game is growing year by year. Well, what direction that's going to go, I don't know. But, again, I go back to here. We have a chance, if we take that step and decide this is what we want to do here at Oklahoma State in football, we can take the lead. Because we have as much stability as anybody in the country, maybe other than Iowa, would be my guess. I could be wrong. Am I pretty close to that? He's been there, I'm 18, he's been there 21 or something. And I think most of their staff's been there. Other than that, it's us, stability. So that depends on what they're looking for. You come here, you want to be a part of the team, you want to get an education, you want to be in our culture, you want to make friends for life, you want to develop as a young man, you want to learn how to be a better husband, a better father, contribute to society, you come to school here. You want all the other stuff, you don't come here. It's not who we are. That's okay. No hard feelings, either way.
8 Oklahoma kids in this class. How just, I guess, good is the talent in Oklahoma, specifically this year? Because you've had some good classes from the state, but it's been a while since you've had this many from the state.
So we self-scout. We do everything we do around here, right? And our production level per capita, for lack of a better term, in the state of Oklahoma has been through the roof. So we feel like that there's players here that people overlook based on we don't have real athletic hours in the state like Texas. Our state schools aren't funded like, I'm just using Texas because everybody knows about Texas. The coaches aren't funded like Texas. So people kind of bypass this area. I think that the coaches and the development of the players in the state of Oklahoma in the last 4 to 6 years has increased dramatically. So I'm going to guess we probably missed a couple kids in the state. There's been a couple, 3 kids every year that go somewhere else and play good because recruiting is not a perfect science. But if you're in the state of Oklahoma, you're certainly going to get the first option here based on geographical region. It's easy for them to get here. Things get a little tough. I can go home, talk to mom and dad, drive 2 hours back. Okay, it's going to be okay compared to I'm from wherever I'm from. So we've had a lot of success with them.
You've talked about flipping some of the scholarships the last several years to defense and the impact that's had. I look at this, and there's defensive stability there with the ends you talked about, a couple of corners that are really good looking. Benson, the JUCO linebacker. But one of the things that's impressive, those 2 running backs, I mean, the numbers they put up, and then you look at the receivers. You got another Presley who's really explosive. You got Shetron, Gilkey, who you guys kind of found first out of Pahuska. There's a lot of explosion offensively in this class.
Yeah, so with your running backs, you have a nice mixture. You've got a powerful guy that's going to be, Ollie's going to be 230 someday, would be my guess. He was 208 last week. Once he starts training and eating, I'm going to guess he'll play at 230. CJ's 177 last week. I'm going to guess he's going to be 190-ish, 195-ish. So we have a nice mixture of style of play with those guys. Give you a little variety there as they progress. And then we've got some reach and some length at the wideout. Gilkey's a non-recruited player for the most part, right up the road here. Valedictorian, 4.1 student, basketball player, great football player, probably could do anything he wanted, and a local kid that really wants to be here. We've allotted 3 scholarships either 4 or 5 years ago to defense. We're still that way. And that's part of the – offensively, we're down 3. We'll improve and get better. We need to score more points and do better based on as we continue to improve here. But when you take 3 away from offense, it's going to change a little bit. It's a numbers game. But it's still worth it for us to build up our defense numbers-wise and our special teams.
How did that process go of putting Mason Gilkey on your radar and maybe kind of noticing things in him that other schools did overlook?
So our recruiting office finds guys like that, and they bring them in, and we watch him. We make a decision on what we see, what his measurables are. We found out he's a valedictorian. We found out he's a 4-point student. Found out from the coaches and the principal and the people in his facility that he's a fantastic person. So he becomes a marquee guy for us. Make a difference who recruits him.
There's also about, 4 or 5 guys in this class who have either played against your son, played against Stillwater, or with Gabe Brown, been their teammates. What has that been like for you to see them grow through their high school career?
Yeah, some of these guys, I know more about Gabe Brown than anybody because I watched him for 4 years. I watched him in practice and seen him in games, and with the Chetron brothers, I knew a lot about number 30 for us, Colin Oliver. I watched him play against my kids for several years. Okay, Deshaun Brown, same thing. So that is an advantage for Coach McIndoe and myself and Coach Clements to be able to go watch these guys, see them live. So we know more about them than everybody else because we get to see them more, particularly Stillwater kids.
On Braylon, how do you see his role? Is he comparable to Brennan? How much different is he from Brennan?
Same type of player, more right to left, tougher to 2 below in a phone booth would be my guess. I don't know who's faster. I mean, they argue over it all the time. We'll race them this summer. We'll find out who's faster. I'm going to guess there's not going to be that much difference in either one of them. Highly competitive, tough, love to play football, come from good family, very athletic family. They understand right from wrong. Mom and dad doesn't put up with any BS. They're going to do what you tell them. They're going to love the team. Both of them could run a 40-yard dash and under that table and not hit their head. I mean, that's what you get.
Braylon, you've got him listed as a wide receiver. What kind of role do you anticipate he could fill?
Who?
Braylon.
Well, he'll be a slot. He's a slot receiver. I mean, he gets quick passes. You dump it to him, throw it to him in the flat, throw it to him right now, catch it, and got to come tackle him in space. That's what his role will be. Punt return or kick return.
Mike, talk about the 2 JC guys. One of them will play Friday night in the national championship game, Weber. And then you had Benson in late on a visit. I think he's an All-American too. He was Defensive Player of the Year in his conference. Those 2 guys.
Right, so we're losing the 2 guys inside on defense. 20 and 16 been worth, I don't know if there's any pair of linebackers in the country that just showed up and 16, but we knew about 20 that have been as valuable as what those guys have been for us. Malcolm Rodriguez should have been a first-team All-American. But regardless, he was a second-team All-American. Devin Harper's been fantastic. So we know we have good young guys behind him. Okay, there's several guys, but we needed one mature player to come in because we don't play 2 guys. We want to play 4. So we needed one guy to come in that's mature, and he's had a bunch of reps. He's older, he gets it, he's 230-something pounds. He's physically mature. He's excited about being here. So he comes in and gives us some maturity to let us develop some of those younger guys at that position. Tyrone is, playing for the national championship here soon. Canadian. We've had success with Canadian kids. Mature. Really good base, uses his hands, uses his feet well, punches, is able to give nice blow coil with the coil punch. Doesn't cross his feet a lot on tape, very athletic. We feel like that once he gets here and gets with Coach Glass for 6 months, that he's going to completely change his body and his strength levels, just like we did with number 7 that came in.
How many are coming in early?
Right now, I think we're looking at 11. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know. I mean, all these numbers things mess with me, but I think 11. How many did we sign? 23? Okay. So, I think 11.
Did you name them? Have you read them off?
Well, I'm not sure because, they say they're coming in. Some of them say they are, some of them say they aren't. I don't know. I mean, it just depends. I'd hate to do it You know, it's not going to be a big deal anyway. You'll know in the middle of January, either show up or they won't. So, but I think I heard the number is at 11.
You had a lot of this class committed during the COVID time where you couldn't even have them on campus, kind of the core of it. Was there something that you guys did differently or maybe learned about recruiting to look at it a different way during that time?
I think most everybody used the resources they had with Zoom, virtual tours, on-campus visits, but what he alluded to was the reason why is because we have structure, continuity. Most of our staff's been together forever. I've been here for 35 years other than 5 years of my life, and so that makes a huge impact on an organization, in my opinion. People recognize us with our structure, our culture, and the consistency we have here. That's how we're able to get that done.
What did you guys like about Garrett? It seemed like when Rete came in, that was kind of his.
Rangel?
Yeah. His first target.
Yeah. You know, nice size, 6'2". Going to develop his body's thin right now, which most high school quarterbacks are. He should push up around 190 in a year or so. Throws a nice ball, competitive, got a good demeanor. Mom and Daddy raised him right, wants to be here, understands our culture, understands being unselfish. He's not into all that BS that goes on now. Just wants to come play football and get an education.
How farther along could he be? Because if you look back, he had Mims as a receiver as a sophomore. He threw for almost 5,000 yards his sophomore year. So he's been a 3-year starter at that level in Texas. Does that put him a little further ahead of most quarterbacks that may have 1 or 2 years starting?
Yeah, most of those schools down there, they're pretty far along scheme-wise, and then they play that high-level 7-on-7. You know, they travel around and play, and so those guys get a lot of reps. You know, you're going back to Texas high school football. They have a 90-minute period in the mornings where they come and do football pretty much year-round if they want to. And then they go to practice after school. So those guys are a little further along.
You've had a lot of success with brothers. What do you think you have with the Chetrons, and what's it like recruiting brothers?
You know, we've been fortunate that we've had guys come in here, and you know, obviously the wide receiver was a guy that was a marquee national guy, and then we like Tabry. He's 227 pounds right now. I think he's going to be 255 in 18 months. And he'll develop into being a good football player for what we ask him to do. I think it's important we don't try to make him something he's not. And so, but we have to be patient with him. You know, he played Cowboy back at Edmond, and they split him out some, Edmond, Santa Fe. They split him out some and he did some different things, but playing that position here is much different. So we need to give him some time and all that as his body develops. But I'm going to say 250 in 18 months, should run under 4.8, and kind of fits the role. Comparison, Tracy Moore type of body.
Getting back to something you talked to her about earlier with this class, I'm assuming with the season you just had, those are the things that lead you to believe that going forward this program can be kind of the flagship in the league, or where?
We got a chance. If we step up and roll. I mean, we're going to do our part over here in this building, and everybody else has to step up and decide we want to be at the top. We've got a chance right now. You know, you're recruiting at a high level. I don't know what we're ranked at. Is there any rankings anymore that are even worth talking about?
We're at 22 right now.
So we're at 22. I mean, that's pretty high for us, right? I mean, we usually float around in the 40s somewhere. That's back when I used to say either we're really good recruiters or really good coaches, one or the other. So I'm just going to guess that we're 20-something now. You know, we won 11 games. We're, ninth in the country, but we're in a Fiesta Bowl. A lot of good things going right now. If you keep momentum going, you make good decisions in all the important areas, got a chance.
You talked about the other day about Knowles leaving, obviously, but what about the job your defensive staff did after his departure to keep this class intact?
Yeah, so our recruiting staff's been fabulous. Okay, they guide our defensive staff, and those guys do a good job. Listen, here's the deal. There's continuity and structure over here, because I've been here 18 years. And when you have that, you have continuity, you have structure. that you have what to call consistency. So parents understand that, the recruits understand that. Coach Knowles was a fabulous coach, and we'd like to keep him here for 100 years. He's not going to be here anymore. Nothing's going to change. Okay? We won't miss a beat. We'll hire another coordinator. I've done this for years and years and years. It's my job to find a smart, loyal, hardworking person that'll come in here, okay, and work with them, whether I hire from inside or I hire from outside. Got to hire somebody. And that's not going to be a problem because they'll come into this culture. If they don't want to come into this culture, it don't make a difference to me who it is or how good he is. They're not coming. We're not changing what we do. Consistency is the most important thing in building a big-time college football program, in my opinion. Now, I've never been at some of these schools where, as people say, you wake up on third base and think you hit a triple. I've never been there. So I don't know what it's like to coach at a school like that. Coach Knowles will know.
Going back to the Shetron brothers, when you talk about building a big-time program, what was that like to see Colin Shetron flip his commitment from OU to join his brother and play here?
Again, you know, really good young men, humble, unselfish, raised right, want to do things for the right reasons. Those are the type of players that we get. Those are the type of young men that we get. Good students, work hard, they're committed to themselves, willing to play hard for the guy next to him, and so they like our culture, they like what we have, and as I said, not every recruit likes what we have, but they do, so it was a good fit for us.
You don't even have these guys on campus yet, but is there a Colin Oliver in this class, a guy you feel like can step in his first year and play a role?
Sure is. Yep.
Who would that guy be?
Well, I'm not going to say. There's three of them there. So you mean, you know, we have to call it like it is, right? We want to be honest in here with each other. We've been pretty good at evaluating that position, right? So we like what we have in a big way.
With the remaining scholarships available for this class, how much is it focusing on you know, high school kids or JUCO kids, or preserving some spots for potential
Good question. For the most part, you're looking at transfers or transfers either way, because 98% of high school players have signed up, would be my guess. But we don't know what our numbers are because you don't know where you're at on the portal. So if portal guys go out, you can portal guys in. And we won't know that until first week in January, second week in January, because we could have, you know, I said the other day, I guessed we would have 3 or 4 players that would jump in the portal because they want to be somewhere and start. And I respect that. I think that's awesome. In fact, we've had a couple that are in now that have come in and talked about it and told me the reasons why, and it's all positive. It's just the way the world works. So we might have a couple others. If so, then, you know, 4 go out, 4 come in. 2 go out, 2 come in. And that's generally going to take place in the spring or up until about June-ish.
And then super seniors too, because don't you have to factor them in now, because I don't think they're going to give the praise.
Yeah, I think we'll have 9 super seniors next year. So we have to play that numbers game also.
Yeah, Cameron Hess listed at 6'3", 194. Do you expect him to play corner? Kind of, you could do a lot of things with that size.
You know, it's an unusual body. He's 6'2"-ish, 6'3"-ish, 190-ish, long, rangy. Looks like Justin Gilbert, body-wise. Like when I was up there at St. Louis Chaminade a week ago. That's a heck of a school, too, now. Pretty cool. 150-year-old school that I never had been there, but that's a big-time operation. Anyway, Justin Gilbert-looking body, a little taller. I think that might be 210 in 18 months, really. I mean, I think he's got a lot of growth. Real rangy, very athletic. I don't know what his stars were. What was he, star? Yeah, so I mean, it's hard for me to project anything, but when I saw his body, projected his size, saw his athleticism, you know, he played quarterback for him the latter part of the year because their quarterback got hurt and they needed somewhere to score points, and he made a lot of plays at quarterback, just like Justin Gilbert did. highly intelligent. Chaminade St. Louis is a private school that's very, very high rated academically, and those guys that come there to play sports still have to achieve academically. It's not, some private schools are different, not there. So looking forward to getting him here.
Do you think that this, like, that the early signing period needs to be shifted to, or do you think it should stay the same?
Some of your bigger schools are trying to move it so they can get back in late and cheat. Right where it is where it needs to be right now, because there's not much cheating going on that I'm seeing. I saw a little bit of NIL stuff here in the last week to 2 weeks that might have factored in with us. I don't have any evidence to bring to the table to say that. Just my history of it, I see a little bit of it, but it needs to stay right where it is. So people are complaining about firing head coaches. That's the reason why they're wanting to adjust this signing day. Is that right?
One of the reasons.
Okay, well, don't fire head coaches during the season. That solves that problem. I mean, ADs can do it. They're grown men, so, but they can do what they want. I don't care. I'm just giving you my opinion. It's good where it is, and quite honestly, they should have a July signing day. So we had, you guys know, you study this. How many players did we have committed by July? I don't know. Okay, sign them. I mean, you want to save money? Sign those guys and communicate with them via phone, text, all that, and then you don't have to get in a plane, get in a car, fly somewhere, draw per diem, pay for a hotel, pay for a rent-a-car, pay for a flight trip. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't make those decisions. I'm a pretty reasonable and rational person, and usually that doesn't work when you're dealing with administration. So sign them in July, sign them in December, and then do what's left over in February. And I wouldn't use firing coaches as a crutch. So, like I'm just going to give you an example. I'm going to call it like it is. I've had, how many times, the only person in here is Robert. You've been covering this a long time. How many times have I had to replace coaches or coordinators in the last 18 years? Like, what, 6 or 8? Well, I just wait till after January to either bump a guy up or replace him. Why can't everybody else do that?
Not a lot of high schoolers walking around at 6'8", 320. Calvin Harvey, he was injured this year, but what are your thoughts on him?
He's a big man, and he's every bit of that. When he came in, he came to a game this year, I think, on a visit. Which one? Okay. So he came in, and we were over there at the indoor and doing our walkthrough on Friday, I believe Friday, and he walked through the door, and he's a big man. And so he had a minor, not major, but minor knee, and they fixed it. He's rehabbed. He's back and rolling right now, but he missed a month or so, or 6 weeks, I'm not sure. He has a great future. So when you're that size, if you'll develop some toughness over a period of time and you'll learn to train hard and get some grit, you have a real chance. I mean, you and I don't have that chance, right? I mean, we were out from day one. He has that chance.
You talked earlier this season about how the SEC has been kind of pulling more of the Houston base. How nice was it to get one out of there?
Yeah, so we'll always recruit down in that part of the country based on how long Texas stays in this league. If they jump within a year or so, it could get more difficult down there. I don't know that for sure, but yeah. So, but again, I'm just hypothetically saying it could bring more people this way with Texas being in the league and A&M's in the league. So some of the schools in the Southeast can come over here now and say, hey, we play here twice a year. See what I'm saying? That's just kind of the way it works in recruiting. So it could be more difficult, but we don't go very far from home anyway, so it's not like we're losing a lot of ground. I mean, we're going to blanket the state of Texas. And but then we just have to make good business decisions based on what's available and what we think our chances are of signing those guys at some particular point.
I think first year in a while without a Louisiana recruit. Did you guys?
We tried.
Okay.
We tried. I think we got NLI, but I'm not sure. NIL. The national letter and the NIL is a killer for me. I think we got it, but I'm not sure. We'll see. But we tried. We've had a lot of success in what would be North and Northwest Louisiana, through that area. Those people in my history are a lot like East Texas people. They're, just kind of that family, salt of the earth background, like what we're built on here. But we would like to get some out of there, but we just didn't do it this year.
You mentioned NIL. How has that changed recruiting the last 6 months or so? That
Hadn't really didn't factor in as much with us this year. I think next year is going to be I don't know what it's going to be, but I think it's going to be there.
In what way?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know what the rules are yet. I honestly don't know what the NIL rules are, or what whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know what the parameters are, and I don't think anybody else knows either. I think people are doing it because I don't think there's repercussions, because there's not a governing body at this particular time. It's like going down Highway 51. If there's nobody ever that checked your speed, nobody's driving 45. Everybody's going to be driving 70. I don't drive much past 52 because somebody might give me a ticket. I don't think there's any tickets being handed out right now for this. So I think it's out of control. That's just my opinion. I don't know what direction it's going. I think this time next year, it'll be really interesting to say what's going on. It'd be nice for somebody to predict it. I don't know anybody in here that can predict it. It's going to be going on, though. So, anything else? All right, guys. Appreciate y'all coming out.